Hello and welcome everyone to the Berean Bookclub podcast with your hosts Francois Poe and Conrad Rieder. We're so glad that you are joining us and just watching this little trailer about the Berean Bookclub. And for you to understand who we are, I'm going to hand over to Conrad and maybe tell us a bit more like why are we doing this and what's it all about?
So in order to understand what the podcast is going to be about, you really need to get a bit of a window into our friendship, where it started. We met about just over 4 years ago when we were both undergrads studying theology, George Whitfield College in Muizenberg. It took a couple of months for us to warm up to one another, but in many ways, our friendship was birthed out of every tea time and lunchtime. In between classes, we'd go up to our flat, my and Ames's flat, and we just chat about stuff that we've been hearing in class, that we've been reading, assignments, and so on, bouncing stuff off of one another, and that kind of continued for year after year after year for 3 years, and in retrospect, looking back, those were some of our most fruitful times at college and the most challenging times, not only listening to a lecture, but going back home, eating toast with low GI toast with butter on when we were still trying to be healthy. And just talking about these things. We thought, why not invite you guys in on our conversations. Not that we think our conversations are particularly significant or novel for the world to hear, but it was such a good and refreshing time having these conversations. We thought we'd start a podcast. We invite you in to be part of the conversation, to join the conversation. But there's a bit more you need to understand what the podcast is going to be about. Brew, what's behind the name?
Yeah, so the Berean Bookclub. What we're going to be doing over the next year, we're going to be looking at 12 different books, and we're going to read a book a month, and then me and Conrad are going to get together and just discuss the way in which that book encouraged us. And our hope is really that as we read these books, that we can learn from the authors what they have to teach us, what they have to teach the church as well, and then hopefully grow our love for Christ. So that's our desire if you are going to be joining us, that as we read these books together and as you follow along these conversations, that we actually just grow in our love for Christ and glorify Him more. So that's really the idea behind the book club. And then the Bereans, as we see in Acts, they were guys that were open to hear the word being taught to them. They weren't scared of various authors, but they were discerning. They listened to what people had to say and checked whether or not it aligns with Scripture. And as we go along, we also hope that we will be discerning with what we hear from the authors and see where is it in agreement with Scripture and where do we maybe disagree with it. So that's basically what we're all about. We do hope that you're excited to maybe join along and read these books with us. If you want to find the book list that we're going to be looking at, you can go to btistellenbosch.com/the Berean Book Club. And there you'll find the 12 books that we'll be reading this year. And we really hope you join us. Grace and peace, guys.